Okay, imagine this. It's just a Thursday afternoon, pretty normal,
Yeah.
in Ahmedabad. You know, the city's buzzing. It's the heart of Gujarat.
Right, just life going on as usual.
Exactly. And at the airport, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International, Air India flight AI171 is prepping for departure. It's a Boeing 787 Dreamliner.
Headed for London Gatwick.
Yeah. And on board, you've got 242 people, passengers, crew, families, people on business trips, maybe going on a holiday. They're settling in, getting ready for the flight.
That familiar airport vibe, you know? Excitement, maybe some goodbyes, people thinking about reunions, new chapters starting.
Totally. That whole mix. And then just like that, in a split second,
Yeah.
everything just completely changes.
It was June 12th, 2025. Just moments, really, after the plane lifted off. What should have been a totally routine departure became, well, an absolute catastrophe.
Yeah.
AI-171 crashed, not in some remote area, but right into a packed residential neighborhood. And tragically, hundreds of people lost their lives, both on the plane and devastatingly on the ground, too.
The news just sent these huge shockwaves, didn't it? Across India, but also, around the globe.
Absolutely.
We've gathered quite a bit of information, looked through a lot of sources on this terrible event, and today we want to do a deep dive, try to unpack it all.
Yeah, go beyond just the initial headlines.
Right. Look at the facts, as they're starting to come out, but also the human side, the stories behind those numbers, the almost unbelievable account of the one person who survived on board.
And the impact, the immediate terrible impact in the Ahmedabad neighborhood, and then, how the world responded.
It's a lot to take in. But getting into these details, understanding what the sources tell us, it feels necessary to really grasp the horror of that day.
Agreed. So let's maybe go back to that afternoon, the specifics of the flight.
Okay, so 1:38 p.m., that's when AI-171 started its takeoff from runway 23.
Right.
He was carrying 230 passengers, 12 crew, the plane itself a 12-year-old Dreamliner.
And the passenger list, it really shows the connections, doesn't it? 169 Indians, 53 Britons, 7 Portuguese, 1 Canadian on board.
All those individual lives, individual journeys lifting off together.
And then, just 33 seconds later, 33 seconds, they were barely airborne, only about 825 feet up.
So low.
Incredibly low, and that's when it happened. Sources describe this terrifying bang. People heard it on the plane. People heard it below.
And there was a mayday call.
A desperate one, yeah. And then just a rapid loss of height. Couldn't be stopped, leading straight to impact.
And like you said, it wasn't an empty field. It came down right in a residential area near BJ Medical College.
In Meghanagar, yeah. And it seems it directly hit a doctor's hostel there, just obliterated it.
The scene afterwards, just unimaginable chaos described. Intense fire, huge plumes of smoke.
Emergency services rushing in, NDRF, police, firefighters, more than 24 ambulances reportedly lining the streets, the sirens, just a constant backdrop to the horror.
Yeah. And the images described, they're just gut-wrenching. The tail section of the plane sticking out from a collapsed building.
A wing just lying across a road. It instantly became clear this was massive. India's worst air disaster since, 1996?
Yeah, that's what the sources say. And one of the deadliest globally in the past decade. Just staggering.
The scale of loss. It's hard to comprehend. And what's really striking looking through the different reports is the initial confusion about the exact numbers.
Right, you had the 232 people on the plane, and it quickly became clear that almost everyone on board was lost.
But then you had reports from Ahmedabad Civil Hospital saying they'd received 270 bodies.
Wow.
And that doesn't even fully account for all the ground victims, especially from the hostel. The numbers just kept climbing.
That confusion really points to the sheer destruction, doesn't it? Making identification just incredibly difficult.
Exactly. DNA testing was immediately essential. I think they collected 272 samples. But getting matches or even visual recognition, it was tragically slow. It just speaks volumes about the condition of the site, the state of the remains, a horrific recovery task.
And behind every single number, every sample, there's a person, a family just torn apart. And then you read about Ramesh Vishwaskumar, 40 years old, a British citizen, originally from India. He was sitting in seat 11A.
And he actually survived.
He did. He clearly remembered hearing that loud noise maybe 30 seconds or so after they took off.
His description of what he saw inside the wreckage, it's chilling. Dead bodies everywhere.
It's awful.
And his reaction, it wasn't some calculated move. He said he just got scared, got up, and ran out. Pure instinct.
He described the scene outside as plane pieces scattered like confetti at a funeral. What a devastating image.
So vivid. And grim.
He'd been living in London for about 20 years, apparently back in India for a family reunion.
Physically, reports said his injuries weren't life-threatening, which is just incredible, but the emotional trauma, unimaginable.
And here's the truly heartbreaking twist for him. His brother, Ajay Vishwaskumar, was also on that flight,
Oh, no.
and he's listed as missing. Friends apparently rushed from DU to Ahmedabad, just desperate, hoping against hope.
So Ramesh's survival,
Hmm.
it's this tiny, tiny glimmer of something almost miraculous in the darkness. But at the same time, it just highlights the awful randomness of it all. Why him? Why not others?
Yeah, a deeply bittersweet story. And for almost everyone else, no miracle. The stories are just relentlessly tragic, like Ashokbhai and Shobhanaben from Palanpur in Gujarat.
Ah, yes. The sources really emphasize the impact their loss had on their community, described as piercing the heart.
They were flying to London for a wedding, weren't they? A relative of their son's wife.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a happy occasion.
Yeah.
Laughter, dancing, celebration.
And the way people describe him, Ashokbhai, sort of a community leader, known for his laugh, settling little disputes.
And Shobhanaben, the heart of the home, famous for her, the place, apparently always had sweets for the kids.
Their relationship sounds quite special, too, called a rom-com couple. They might bicker, apparently, but always holding hands.
Just lovely. And this trip was a big deal. Ashokbhai had saved up for it. Shobhanaben spent ages picking matching outfits.
Their son dropped them off at the airport, all smiles, excitement. And then just hours later, that call, that news, just devastating.
Their daughter-in-law's words, they lived together, loved together, and left together, just sums it up so sadly, doesn't it?
It really does. And their story represents so many others. People from Visnagar, Kadi, Danera mentioned too.
Like Dinesh Kumar Patel, a farmer on his very first flight.
Oh, wow.
Or Ratil Patel, 71, going to see his son's new place in London. Just countless threads cut short.
And the tragedy wasn't confined to the plane, was it? The impact on the ground was immense, especially at that doctor's hostel at BJ Medical College.
Right. Students were just having lunch, a totally normal part of their day.
And then the crash. We know at least 5 medical students, an MBBS student, one resident doctor, and a doctor's wife were killed there.
And dozens injured, over 60 students, many critically. The dean of the college described seeing students trapped by flames, just horrifying scenes.
There's an account from a first-year student, Drajesh Moore. He just finished lunch, heard this sharp noise.
What did he think it was?
His first thoughts were earthquake, or even, incredibly sadly, Pakistan dropping bombs. Shows the shocking confusion.
Yeah, absolutely.
He said he froze for like 2 whole minutes, just terrified, not knowing if stepping outside meant safety or death.
But he survived.
He did, but many others didn't. Doctors Aryan Rajput, Manav Badu, Rakesh Diora, named among the dead. Another resident, Jay Prakash Chaudhary, still missing.
And there was a hostel worker quoted too, wasn't there? Just doing their job, making rotis.
Yeah, and suddenly just smoke, screams, chaos, saw students dying instantly.
And there were others on the ground unaccounted for as well.
Mentions of a pregnant woman, a 2-year-old child. The sources point out, this wasn't a movie. There weren't dramatic rescues saving everyone on the ground. It was just brutal reality.
So with something this sudden, this catastrophic, the big question is why? How does a modern plane, like a Dreamliner, just fall out of the sky 33 seconds after takeoff? Experts seemed genuinely puzzled.
Yeah, it seems so. One of the early theories mentioned quite a bit was a bird strike, maybe a large kite, which were common there.
And the idea was it could have somehow knocked out both engines, which would be
extremely unlucky, a freak accident, as some put it.
But obviously, that's just early speculation. The key was getting the recorders.
Right, the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. They were found the next day, June 13th.
So investigators now have that crucial data. They'll be looking at everything: wing flaps, engine performance, fuel calculations, temperature logs, everything.
There was a comment from a former NTSB investigator, Jeff Gazzetti, saying if those recorders are okay, they might know a lot more fairly quickly, maybe within a week or so.
That would be fast. Of course, there's always public speculation, too. Former President Trump apparently weighed in, suggesting it didn't seem like an explosion. Maybe the engines just failed.
Well, speculation aside, this is a huge deal for Boeing, isn't it? The 787 Dreamliner. 16 years in service, and this is the first fatal crash.
A grim milestone. And Air India, now owned by Tata Group, they reacted swiftly. Grounded 9 787s straight away for checks, with plans to inspect 24 more.
Understandable caution. And as you keep reading, more names, more stories just keep emerging. Each one just adds to the weight of it all.
Like Jinal Patel and Vaibhav Patel, a couple from Dholka, they were heading back to London after her baby shower. She was 7 months pregnant.
Oh, that's just awful.
And Hardik Devraj Avaya and his fiancée Vibhuti, newly engaged, their whole future just gone.
Sadiqa Banu Muhammad Mia Shatwala, only 23, traveling with her little girl Fatima, just 2.5, coming home from a wedding.
And Abtiben Patel, 40 years old. She'd left her young son, 8 years old, back in the UK to visit her sick mother in Gujarat.
And apparently she was hesitant about making the trip.
Yeah, a friend mentioned that. Just heartbreaking details like that.
We also know former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani was on board. He was 68.
Yeah.
A very public figure lost.
And the crew, too. We can't forget them. Captain Sub Harwal. Apparently he'd told family this might be one of his last flights, planning to quit to look after his ill father.
Wow.
And 2 cabin crew members from Manipur also lost their lives. Just everyone on that plane had a story.
The grief was immediate and widespread, wasn't it? You saw the response from the highest levels in India.
Absolutely. Prime Minister Modi visited the crash site, met with Ramesh Vishwaskumar, the survivor. He said the tragedy had stunned us and pledged support for the families.
And the sports world reacted strongly, too. Cricketers Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Gautam Gambhir sending condolences. Shubman Gill just tweeting heartbroken.
Yeah, Chennai Super Kings, Gujarat Titans. They held moments of silence before their matches, a real sense of national mourning.
Bollywood, too. Akshay Kumar canceled an event out of respect. Alia Bhatt, Vicky Kaushal, Karan Johar, lots of messages of prayer and support. Sunny Deol called it devastating.
Even stars from the South, like Kamal Hassan, mentioning stunning sorrow.
And internationally, the response was quick. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer calling it a heartbreaking day, sending investigators.
The U.S. president offered help. Condolences came from Singapore, Pakistan. Even King Charles altered royal plans as a mark of respect. Real global solidarity.
On the corporate side, Tata Group, Air India's parent company, made a significant pledge, 1 crore rupees per victim's family.
Yeah, the chairman, N. Chandrasekaran, said, "No words can express our grief." Air India also set up a helpline, changed the flight number for that route from AI171 to AI159.
Small gestures, but important acknowledgments.
Definitely. And the investigation. It's moving forward. India's AIIB is in charge, but the U.S. NTSB is assisting.
And they're looking beyond the black boxes, right? Using things like that teenager's video, CCTV footage.
Every possible clue. But while the technical work goes on, the human cost is still so raw. Families waiting at the hospital for DNA results. That silence at BJ Medical College on what should have been its Foundation Day celebration.
Yeah. And the online discussions.
Yeah.
People debating, some defending the crew, others demanding answers about the plane, the procedures.
And back in Palampur, the town that lost Ashokbhai Shobhanaben, that deep sense of loss. People saying they were the glue holding things together, now feeling like just pieces.
Going through all this material, it just hammers home, doesn't it? This isn't about numbers or technical failures. It's about lives. Love stories ended too soon, that one almost impossible survival story, students with bright futures lost, crew members who didn't make it home.
It's a whole tapestry of human experience, tragically cut short. And as the investigation progresses, finding the truth is vital, of course, for safety, for prevention.
Absolutely.
But maybe even more critical right now is supporting those left behind, the families, the friends, the community. Their grief is just immense.
And perhaps, thinking about a takeaway from all this horror, there was that one reflection mentioned in the sources from someone affected by it all.
The one about the ladoo.
Yeah. Life's too short to skip the extra ladoo. Live, love, hold tight.
It's such a simple yet powerful thought, isn't it? Coming out of such darkness. Almost like a plea to cherish what we have, who we have right now, to honor those who were lost by really, truly living.
A poignant reminder for all of us, I think. Hold tight indeed.